Hello, and welcome to our podcast, Love is in the Air. But how do you communicate it? So, a hearty welcome to all our listeners. And the podcast, as I said, is about love. And today we are going to talk about the love languages. I am your host. I am Joyita. I am a holistic healing and wellness facilitator. And today we have a special guest coach joining us to discuss how effectively we can communicate love. As we know that communication is a crucial aspect of any relationship. And when it comes to expressing love, things can get a bit complicated. So we have with us here Ashish Mathur. He's a renowned coach who has helped countless individuals, professionals, leaders to improve their overall well-being. So let us dive in and learn some valuable insights on how to communicate love effectively. And it will not be right on my part to tell you who Ashish is. So I would invite Ashish to talk about himself, to introduce himself, and tell us more about what he does.
Thank you so much for having me, Joita, and thank you so much for the introduction. You covered almost everything, so apologies firstly for my voice. I'm having a bit of a bad throat. Um, so I've been part of the corporate world for over 22 plus years, and then I pivoted into um, professional coaching. And as we speak, I work with individuals, corporates, and business houses uh, for helping them achieve larger goals that they want to set out for themselves. So, as of now, I'm a coach, and in the coaching journey, what happens is most people think it's about very, very specific elements. Like if it's sports coaching, then it's sports, or if it's business coaching, then it's business. But in my style of coaching and also otherwise, what I believe is all elements are connected of an individual life, including personal well-being and hence including love. So that's why we are here today to discuss about love as it plays a crucial part in overall happiness and well-being.
Great, thank you. And see, for me as a holistic healer, main thing is for me is compassion, and I also believe that love is the strongest energy on earth. But I would ask you, Ashish, what is your definition of love? What does it actually mean? And we use this word so commonly, and now that it is the season of love with Valentine's Day around the corner, what does it mean to you?
So while I'm no philosopher to tell the meaning of love or no Shakespeare either, but in my opinion, I think love is much, much more than an emotion or a feeling. I think it's a state of a conscious decision and a commitment where you care for someone or something deeply and unconditionally. It could be for a person, individual, it could be even for that matter, uh, for the God Almighty. It could be for anyone, and it involves a much larger aspect of understanding and accepting someone for who they are, including their flaws. And like you said, it's a part of having them on the right level of vibration and vibing with them. So very simply, in today's new gen lingos, so as long as you have those kind of emotions and feelings, that's what love is.
Yeah, and what we both agree, is that love is something which is very divine. So now that we have a better understanding of what love means, so and we said that this podcast is all about love languages. So we shall be talking about love languages. I did Google a bit on what love languages are, but when we have a guru, then why we don't need Google. So can you explain what they are and why they are so important in a relationship?
Of course. So it's a concept which has been evolved and created by a very renowned counselor called Dr. Gary Chapman. So this concept came about in the 90s, in 1995, in one of his books. And post that, it has started with uh, partners and marriage counseling. But then after that, it has evolved into a much larger piece as we know it today, and it's becoming more and more popular. And essentially, at the grassroots, it just talks about that what are the different ways that an individual can express and interpret love. So these could be so the five love languages. Just to give an overview here, is number one is words of affirmation. Two is quality time. Third is acts of service. Then we have physical touch. And last one is receiving gifts. So these are the five love languages that Dr. Chapman talked about in his book. And over the years, it has been experimented a lot and built up by further psychologists and coaches and professionals. And clearly, we see the value in these five languages across. So that's where it all started. And um, in some part of the world is quite a well-known topic, and a lot of people are aware of it. But as we grow, more and more awareness is getting to it, and that's why I'm here to also bring more awareness on the topic. So, yeah.
It seems very interesting. And the five things that you spoke about, I would ask you to elaborate because I think that just touching on the topics won't do with our viewers here. And I can see that there are a lot of people who are joining. Those who have joined, just send us a hi. And if possible, just write to us where you are watching us from. So, Ashish, over to you.
Sure. So let's start with the first one, which is words of affirmation, as I mentioned. So, like this love language is all about verbal expression of affection and appreciation for someone. It could be as simple as just saying, I love you, or giving compliments to your partner or the other individual, not just partner, right? So, for someone whose primary love language is words of affirmation, what that means is that for them, hearing these uh, words means a lot to them, and they feel loved if they hear these nice words. Of course, most of us would do, but for them, it's a notch more, right? So, what we're trying to say here is love language tells us that what is that particular frequency in which the other person absorbs it better, or um, also the frequency in which I express it better. So it could be either ways. And if they match, then amazing. But if they don't match, then things may happen. But we'll get not get into that right now. If we talk about words of affirmation, so if my love language is words of affirmation, I would love to talk about or rather express my love in words. And also, if someone else's love language is words of affirmation, to receive love, they would expect um, an
To be
verbal expression of love, right?
get
For the second one is quality time. So this one applies and focuses on spending meaningful time together without any distractions. Um, it could involve anything like engaging in activities that both enjoy, or having deep conversations, or simply just being present for one another. And especially when we talk about partners, quality time is very important because it helps them connect and strengthen the bond. And especially in today's digital world, we see this is a lot of problem for a lot of our um, clients and colleagues, because we see a lot of interference and noise coming in because of the digital interference. So quality time is, like I mentioned, it's just spending time with each other. The third one is acts of service. So it talks about doing things for the other person. doing things which make their life more easier and enjoyable. So this could be something as simple as making breakfast or coffee for them, right?
Wow.
Or doing yeah, doing household chores. So let's say doing a laundry for them. So for some people, it's basically actions which speaks louder than words, and that's where these kind of acts of service, as we call it, shows that you really care for them.
Got it.
The fourth one is physical touch. Again, quite self-explanatory. It involves physical affection such as hugging, holding hands, uh, could be even just sitting close to each other, of course, including the sexual intimacy part of it also, but is not only limited to that. And that's why physical touch, when it comes to it, also about small gestures that can make a big impact to people who have physical touch as their love language. So, for example, just holding each other's hand in public also could be something which could be really meaningful for them. The last one is receiving gifts. As the name again suggests, it's about receiving tangible gifts. Now, here, one thing to just call out is not necessarily the monetary value of the gift. For some, of course, it matters that when we go into level two, but rather than the monetary value, it's also about the thought behind it. So, for some people, it is that they feel loved just by receiving gifts because they feel the other person was thinking about them and curating maybe something special
Yeah.
with them in mind, and that's why they feel most loved and appreciated. So these are the five love languages. They go a lot deeper than that, and they go a lot of further detailing into it. But that's just an introduction for you, Joyita.
So, Ashish, what is your love language? A personal question, but yeah, we are interested to know.
Yes, so I unfortunately or fortunately don't have a prominent love language. I have all the five at a very high scale, which means I'm a very demanding partner. So, so yeah, it's possible that all of them could be almost at the same, but if I recall, one of them was very slightly ahead, which was words of affirmation. So that was just like really edging out. But they keep also changing from time to time. They keep changing from moment to moment. But yeah, for me, it's all the five languages are important.
Great to know that. And I would be intelligent enough to have a combination of all the five for my partner. I would like to express so that we are on a safer side. So, jokes apart, so how have these five love languages that we are talking about, has it in any ways impacted your approach to coaching? And if yes, then how?
Oh, yes, a lot. It helps approach to my coaching, of course, because then there are, once you get to know that as a client on the other side of the table, what is their primary love language, you also want to build that, firstly get that out in the open so that to make them aware that this is what your love language is and that's what you look for, so that they are aware about their languages. And two, to also help them realize that you need to also normalize um, and let me rephrase it. So it also helps them to understand better other person's love language. So once they know what is their love language, and rather than double weighing on particular language, it helps them also to kind of balance it out. So as a coach, it helps me a lot also to for my clients to help them, and then once they realize what their love language, it helps them into their day-to-day life. So a lot, I would say.
So in this case, if you talk about partners, so do you need both the partners or one partner if like one partner is not ready to engage in this coaching? then is it possible to still go ahead?
Oh yes, it's you don't. It's not a couples therapy of sorts,
Okay.
right? It's more about, firstly, as I said, knowing your oneself, who you are,
Okay.
what are
Okay.
your preferences. Once you know about your preferences, at least can you express your preferences to your partner, right? And then once you get to know your partner's preferences, then how are you also doubling down on that? So it does not mean that you need to come in together and then you need to discuss it. It's firstly that you know what is your preference and then take it to your partner and then balance it out. Or and even that helps a lot with some of the clients, because when they realize that their love language, for example, is words of affirmation,
Mhm.
and the receiving gifts is very, very low,
Mhm.
they re- they also at times realize that their partners keeps complaining that you never get anything from me, right? And then they kind of put the two and two together. It's like, yeah, I tell them that I really appreciate them a lot, but because I'm never, in my mind, I'm not a materialistic person, so I don't act in that fashion. But my partner maybe in some sort. So they need to be aware of their languages and modulate them in the right manner, so that depending on the other party.
Great. I asked this question because there were some questions asking that what if my partner is not ready? So it answers your question. So any of you who would like to get a coaching done for love languages, it is not important that the couple has to visit. One of you can visit. And I would also like to ask you, Ashish, is this only for couples in love or can it also be used at a workplace?
So it's for any relationship, whether it's personal relationships, it's or about work relationships, as long as we are aware of what is ours. So it's essentially a style of communication, right? So if I know for a fact that I express myself a lot in a particular style,
Mm-hmm.
how can I balance that knowing the other person's style of receiving communication? If we are able to balance the two, then it really helps us. So, whether that's a personal setting, a professional setting, a relationship, or anything else for that matter. So, short answer, it comes across in every relationship, including your kids, your family, your partner, your boss, your team member, your peers, everyone.
So here my question would be because we always associate love with love as in a Valentine's Day or a couple or the family settings. But since we also work for wellness at workplace and love at workplace, I would like you to elaborate a little more in a professional setup. How would you express this love language, or how would you coach? Whom would you coach? Would it be the team, the managers, or how would you do it in a workplace?
So, in a workplace setting, the first thing is it depends on who's the client. If the client is the manager, so we work with them, because we work with the person who is there across the table. So, if let's say a manager is struggling to have a good rapport with his or her team, right? And when I say team, I mean, let's say, direct reportees for that. So if that's a problem statement, and we realize that during the conversation, we try to find out that the manager's primary love language to express is physical touch. Okay. And because it's physical touch, and the team is expecting receiving gifts, right? So
Yes.
let's say there are five people in the team, and two of them expects receiving gifts, and three expects words of affirmation. So what is happening here is then a kind of a disconnect. So what happens is, as a manager, I will always be kind of going and patting them on the back and say, "Good job done, buddy," and high five, and. So that's what physical touch comes into professional relationship. But for them, maybe they are not very comfortable in physical touch, right?
Got it.
They may be expecting you to just say good job and give them maybe a small five-star chocolate, or any kind of a gift. Could be an increment also. I'm sure everyone will love that. It could be any kind of a, but for them it's that's a positive um, reinforcement. But if I, as a manager, only do physical touch and think I'm appreciating my team, then that's a challenge, because then your team is not receiving that message, right? And rather, that could be very, very detrimental in today's work environments also, because one can also say that, oh, my manager is too touchy feely.
Yeah. So, I can see that there are some people who have come here from a corporate setting. So, this works. The love language coaching is done by Ashish for professional setups also, right? So, you may connect to us. I will give all the details at the end, and you can connect to us with that. So here comes my next question. I would like you to, without taking names, because I know that we always work with our clients, we have this confidentiality that we maintain. Uh, I would like you to give an example for people to understand where this love languages has
Mhm.
transformed a relationship. Something which you have done recently, or it was a major breakthrough for you.
Sure, sure, sure. So, while I gave one example in a professional setting earlier, so that how it transformed the relationship, but let me talk about another client of mine who had this challenge in the personal side of things. So, what was happening is that the couple in this case, have been struggling a lot to connect for many years. So they were not young couple, right? They're quite middle-aged couple, maybe. So, and they were struggling for a while to connect and to share each other's love and affection. And that was the reason that came up firstly in the coaching. If some of you are wondering, is because that was impacting the individual's um, mental state of mind, which was not only impacting their personal life but also professional. So what was happening is that person was carrying that same kind of a block to work and was not happy and so on. So through coaching, and while we first, like I said, first is the realization of what's one love language is, we realized that the two of them were completely on different poles when it came to the love languages. So one of them had the love language of words of affirmation, and the other one had the love language of quality time. And because of that, what was happening was this person was really working like day in, day out, and uh, trying to make ends meet and work for their future goals, but was still from his side was sending in messages or notes every now and then that, hey, I love you and I miss you or so, but was traveling quite extensively for that. However, the partner was at one point of time, it's like, I don't need so much of reaffirmation that you love me. If you love me, then you spend time with me.
Got it.
Right? Then you spend time with me, you be with me in person. So what was happening is the person who was working had the love language, like I mentioned, as words of affirmation, and was communicating a lot through verbal words, whereas the other one expected quality time. So once they understood this complexity in their kind of communication, they were able to make changes and in both of how they express love, and they being mindful of the fact that how the other person receives love also. And then they were able to have a much more fulfilling relationship for both partners. And yeah, it worked out in their favor, I'm glad to say.
Oh, wow, that's great. And Congratulations on your success. And I'm sure there would be many other stories, but we shall restrict ourselves to one. In case anybody is interested in knowing these stories, I think, Ashish, we can have another podcast on sharing the success stories of many of our clients. Even I have many clients, but my field is slightly different from yours. So, Ashish, like this is like when it is somebody is coming for coaching, you understand and you help them out. But sometimes what happens is people always try to do it themselves before reaching out. That is the
Mhm.
general mindset of people. So, can you just give us some example of how any couple can determine each other's love languages? Can they do it on their own? Can they just find out the basics of the love language thing?
So, yeah, of course, you can do it on your own, but having said that, if you have not been able to do it in so many years, then it may be difficult. But if you're just getting started and you are quite mindful and self-aware of that fact, yes, of course, you can do it on your own. And for that, again, one needs to be quite uh, open to receive these indicators and these kind of hidden cryptic messages to understand what are the languages. But yeah, it's quite easy. If not, then there is a very simple psychometric test that you can take, and it will tell you what is your love language. And uh, if you want, you can ask your partner, or otherwise, you can just kind of do it on their behalf, thinking of what you feel that they would say, and it would tell you what is their love language too. But yeah, if it,
And the easiest thing would be to just contact our coach Ashish.
of
So,
course, yeah, it's
so is it possible? So you mentioned there are five love languages. So is it possible that people have multiple love languages, or we restrict ourselves to one or two, maybe?
like, totally. Like I said, I have all five as quite a strength. Yeah, it could be people will have few of them as a very, very high level. It could be one, it could be two, it could be three. Depends. And every one of us is a different human being, and we have our own nuances. So yeah, all of us speak different dialects of love.
Mhm.
But while one of them would be more prominent, uh, there would be the others will still be there in almost everyone. Chances are that you will have all five, but they would be depending on the situation. It could be work related or personal setting. They may again be a bit
Things.
modulating, and also the timing. But yeah, there would be a few which would be your primary.
Thank you, Ashish. So I wanted to tell you that in my line of work, I'm a energy healer. I'm a Reiki healer. Many times people come to me for healings for emotional blocks. So it's not basically emotional blocks, but in a relationship, I have found that once we talk, they are just emotional blocks. Like I'm angry with my partner for something he said. And then I carry that in my heart for a very long time. And sometimes we get, and again, it's a hurt. So here, what happens is there is a barrier to communication, and this is leading to a barrier in the relationship getting healed. So what I do the things in a different way, but I'm asking you, what do you think? What could be other communication barriers? So in a relationship, like for me, it's like emotional things, the baggage that we carry for a very long time is a barrier. Are there any other barriers?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There are quite a lot, Joita. And like you said, in your field of work, there are of course certain barriers which we talk about. But overall, one of them is what you look into, and at a very high level, there are quite a few communication related barriers that come into play. Um, One of them is what we call as assumptions or misunderstandings. So rather, assumptions lead to misunderstandings, and when we say assumptions or presumptions, it's it can lead to a lot of such communication barriers if not clarified and rather than jumping into conclusions. So one is assumptions. Two is a lot of us who would have coming from corporates would have heard about this is active listening, right? Active listening in today's world is a big issue. Like I was talking earlier with the digital disturbances that we have.
Absolutely.
Um, so there's a lot of time that your partner, all they really want is for you to just listen. And if you're listening actively, you're following their choice of words, their gestures, their emotions, their expressions, you would know what they mean. And that would help you understand each other's love languages for that matter a bit better. And
Ashia, I'm sorry to cut you. This active listening that you're talking about, I feel that this is in a relationship between a parent and a child, and especially with elderly parents, this comes a lot in way of things moving smoothly. Because I think the elderly only need us to listen to them, nothing more than that. And probably we would expect that from our children also. But yeah, this active listening, okay, that's nice.
yeah, absolutely, you're absolutely right. It's a very very simple principle. A lot of time in today's world, because of shortage of time or whatever, we just want to put our point across and that's it, right? But yeah, we need to listen. We need to listen and then act. So active listening is definitely very important. Then the other challenges that we see our people face in communication is not following the expressions, not following the gestures or non-verbal cues, right? Which could be expressed in tone of voice, it could be the way they are pronouncing certain words or intonating on them. So they also communicate a lot. And if one is listening actively and noticing those changes, they would understand uh, what the true meaning of that word is, or what's the meaning behind that word. Is it maybe someone is saying that sarcastically or with a bit of a different intent? It would help you catch that. And overall, I think there are also a lot of uh, block blocks, or as we also call as prejudices, or kind of perceptions that we have which come into the way of communication. For example, a lot of time when people start crying, then you just get too overly emotional and you just stop. So it's important to also kind of take a step back if you're getting too emotional or having some kind of a blocks or prejudices in your mind that, oh, you know what, I should not be talking to this person, and it might as well just take a break, get your act together, and then get into it. And yeah, so and the last one being respectful, I would say. Just be respectful for the person you're talking to, and at the end, it's a process. Be mindful of the process. Stick to the process, and if you are sticking to the process, following everything, respect the other person for being on the other side of the communication. Till the time the communication loop does not complete in terms of receiver, sender, and a feedback loop, it's not communication. So the sender needs to send and receiver needs to receive and share the feedback. Only then the full loop gets completed.
And they have to be in sync.
Of course, absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, absolutely. If they're not in the same wavelength, then I'm talking A and you're listening B, and that's exactly what we are also saying in terms of love languages. So while you may be communicating, but you're communicating different languages. I'm speaking German, you understand Hindi, and then it could be completely something else.
And Ashish, when you're talking of this, it is both for the professional setup as well as for personal issues,
Absolutely.
right? Okay. So now I will ask you about the partners if they are speaking different love languages, like we just said that they are speaking different love languages, or somebody's struggling to communicate their love language to their partner. So how would you handle such issues, or what would you advise to these people?
So First is to listen. Again, to listen, to understand, to notice and observe their communication, to
Mm-hmm.
understand what they are saying. Try to ascertain what is their love language. Try to find that out. If you're not able to, tell us. We will tell you what is your partner's love language. But once you do that, then you have to make a conscious effort to speak that language also, right? So, like we were saying earlier, if between a couple, let's say the partner's love language is time to give quality time together, then you really need to, once you realize that, you need to make meaningful effort to provide that quality time and check for the feedback. Check if it makes them feel loved, if that action makes them feel valued, right? And then you would know what the other person thinks. Because maybe, like I was saying earlier, also the languages can keep changing over a period of time and depending on the other party or the situation. So it's possible that one may have quality time as a primary language right now. Later on, if it changes to receiving gift, then you cannot say, oh, you know what, last time your love language was quality time. That's why I did not get a gift to you. So how can you say that? So, yeah, one needs to also keep on receiving, right? So again, when we say active listening, so we need to also keep always noticing, observing that what are the reactions that uh, all the actions that I'm doing or the languages that I'm following is bringing about in the other person.
Okay, and I would say that this is something which keeps changing. So today, if my love language is that of an affirmation, tomorrow it could be a physical touch. It can keep changing, or does it stay
It not like tomorrow it will suddenly change,
yeah,
right? But over a period of
period of time?
time, over a period of time and over certain situations, it can change. With certain, and definitely with a certain kind of audience, it would be different. So, with
Okay.
my, let's say, with my life partner, it will be a particular kind, but also it will evolve as we grow old, right? It will evolve in different times. So maybe when we were dating, it could be the love language could be something else, like receiving gifts or whatever. But when you are kind of living in together, then it could be quality time or it could be also physical touch, right? So depending on your surrounding, your situation at the moment, it may change, but not drastically. It will not be fluctuating across one to the other.
Ashish, I think I have so many other questions, but the audience here is getting a little fidgety. There are a lot of questions. Is there anything else you would like to tell us about the love language? I gather it's a very vast subject.
Yeah, I think it's quite vast. I would just request and urge everyone to give it a try, see for themselves, and see its magic. It definitely works.
Okay, so I am opening the queue for the questions, and the first question here is that it is by a mail. I'm not taking the name here. A mail that I had given a gift to, had done something to with my wife, done something for my wife, which she did not like. Now, after 20 years, she's still carrying that grudge that you did not do. Now, I'm trying to change, but she is not ready to change. So, what would you advise such a person to do? I mean,
So, firstly, 20 years is a long time, right? So, if you did something back there, every day is a new day, I would say, right? So, it's important in terms of languages and love languages that communication is real time. Communication is now and here. So, I would really urge, firstly, that the person to keep trying, keep communicating, and as and when the communication happens, it can improve. So, when relationships are old, what happens also is it's more difficult to kind of redo them. It's like refurbishing or renovating our houses, right? When you're building a new house, then you're creating the right foundations, you are building everything ground up so you can choose to have the best of the marble and furniture and so on. But when you already have a house in which you're living for 10, 15, 20 years, and then you have to refurbish it while probably living in it, it's more difficult. It takes effort, it takes time, it takes energy because you will have to peel the old layer one by one and then redo it. So, so yeah, it's doable. It's more conscious effort. It's more time, and every day is a new day. I can again say so. Yeah, it's certainly doable.
So it is difficult, but it is not impossible, and you will get results. The next question is that how do I convince my family that I love them?
I would say very hypothetically a philosophical answer that you don't need to convince anybody. You just
Yeah.
express. Keep expressing that what is your style and trying to understand what is their style. But yeah, and
Convince is
once you,
a strong term, I will say, Ashish.
I'm sorry.
Convince, the word convince is very, very strong.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's like when we communicate, it's like you are radiating something out. You are emitting those vibes out. If the other person is keen, willing, looking for such radiation, they will be there to absorb it and they will understand them. So yeah, absolutely. So keep trying. Like I said in my previous example, it will take some time, energy, effort when you're trying to redo something, or just for that matter, build something. But keep keep at it.
Thank you so much. And before we take the next question, I would like to tell our audience over here that we are going to do a love language coaching. Ashish will do it for you. Normally, we would like to charge 1000 rupees, INR 1000. However, if you sign up in the next 1 hour, we are going to give you a 30% discount. So anybody who is interested can, okay, I can see some questions over here. So anybody who is interested can please pay up, at least book it right now. We shall share our payment details in the link below and you can let us know. Ashish, I don't think there are any questions. They are related to the coaching. So I would, there are no other questions. So on this note, I would like to end the podcast here today. But Ashish, before we go, anything you would like to tell us or want to let us know?
No, thank you so much for having me and for all the viewers and listeners who are there. I would just say keep trying, make a start. Don't shy away from making the start and then go for it.
Thank you so much, Ashish. We are so honored to have you with us here. And for all those people who keep saying "Ki the relationship is not working out, it will not work out if you do not make the effort. So we have given, Ashish has given certain tips, and he's also available and he has also offered us a discount on getting your coaching done. And I think you can change your life, your relationship only and only by making that effort. So take the first step. Anyone who is in a corporate setting setup over here can also contact because love languages is not about the word love. It is also the love for your work, love for your workspace, love for your for the targets that you have to achieve and for the team. So you can contact him. I shall be giving all the details over here in the chat. And on that note, thank you so much, Ashish, and namaste, everyone.
Thank you so much, Joita, for having. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.